So tonight, federal law enforcement officials are very busy investigating potential criminal actors who are accused of coordinating violent activities during a lot of these protests as cities across the country struggle with the uptick in violence. So let's discuss the issues with former member of the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, Steve Rogers, and Fox News contributor Andrew McCarthy. Good to have you both with us, gentlemen.
Pleasure.
Hey, Shannon.
Okay, so this is what one Justice Department official has told us. It says, you see the hallmarks. We're trying to see if there's a coordinated command and control. You see the breadcrumbs. That's what we're trying to verify. I mean, Steve, what do you make of that? We had Leland reporting in the last hour about staging of bricks and other potential projectiles along potential protest routes that were then used against law enforcement officers.
Well, Shannon, one of the reasons why we might be seeing predominantly peace now on our streets is because law enforcement is gathering intelligence and information on these bad actors. Now, some of them were arrested. Some of them were caught either making explosives or handing out bricks. And once the police arrest them, well, there you go. There you have somebody who just might sing on other people. So you could be sure that it is very, very significant for arrests to be made of the very bad actors, because that will lead to more bad actors. And the police are being very proactive, and probably we're going to hear it down the road that several arrests have been made to break up this flow of these weapons to these scenes.
Okay, I want to talk also about the fact that today there were elevated charges against the original officer seen with his neck, with his knee on George Floyd's neck as he was dying, and now the 3 additional officers that have been charged as well. Andy, what do you make of the new charges we saw today?
Shannon, I'd be very concerned about this from a law enforcement perspective. And let me preface this by saying I support bringing murder charges against, in particular, Chauvin, but even charges against the other 3. Here's the problem. The theory that they brought the charges on, which is second-degree murder, we heard all day that they would be proceeding on second-degree murder, which has mainly a theory of intentional murder. That is, that you want to cause death. When we saw the charges, that's not the theory they used. The theory they used is felony murder, which is that you caused murder in the course of carrying out an underlying offense. And my concern would be that the underlying offense that they're talking about is subduing an arrestee or a suspect who is resisting arrest. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that Mr. Floyd did anything to threaten the police, but there's lots of evidence in the charging documents that indicates that he was not cooperative in being taken into custody. And if you were a police officer in Minnesota or anywhere else, what you would now have to be concerned about is that the act of physically restraining a suspect who is resisting arrest could result in you, the police officer, being charged with assault. I think what they should have done was charge the police not with a crime in the act of subduing the suspect, but the method that they used in subduing him was so reckless and indicative of such a depraved mindset that it violates the murder in the 3rd-degree statute, which is a serious murder crime. It's a 25-year offense.
Yeah, it is now up to prosecutors to put together those cases against the 4 officers, and we'll watch as that proceeds. Meantime, as you're looking live on the screen tonight, it's an hour and 13 minutes past the curfew here in D.C., but folks seem to be peaceful, and the police are allowing them to remain on the streets, it appears. In Denver, a very large crowd continues to grow. We've seen tens of thousands on the streets, we're told, in Los Angeles as well, and many other areas. And there is now this growing concern that there could be a spike of COVID-19, as just a week or so ago, we were told that, we couldn't do things that would return us to normal activity in close proximity with others. So tonight, New York City's top health official there has tweeted out a couple of things saying this: let's be clear about something. If there is a spike in coronavirus cases in the next 2 weeks, don't blame the protesters, blame racism. And his next tweet: let's remember that the police are increasing COVID risk by using tear gas, herding demonstrators into tight spaces, putting people in crowded jails. Steve, your reaction?
Well, I got to tell you, Shannon, it would be impossible to enforce any of the rules and regulations that we had to obey several months ago. I just, I remember the president once telling us, don't make the solution into a problem more severe than the problem we're dealing with. And when you start putting people together again, whether they be in jails together or in institutions together, you're causing a greater problem than the one you're dealing with. So now we're going to probably, and I hope to God this is not factual, but they may be ending up with a health crisis down the road as a result of managing it in the way they did.
All right, if you two will stay with us, Andy and Steve, we want to check in with Kevin Court because we're seeing something on the screen there.